Motocross bars on a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It would seem you're either for them or you're against them. In this video, I hope to help understand why this handlebar setup has become so popular, and maybe even persuade some of you sitting on the fence that a motocross bar and riser setup might just be the perfect handlebar solution for your motorcycle. G'day everyone, my name is Michael, I'm the Motor Barista, and today is part 2 of my conversation with you about the new motocross bar and riser setup on my Harley Davidson Sport Glide. Now, if you missed the first part, I'm going to leave links in the description below, and I really encourage you to go and check that one out. That video covers the Kraus riser and handlebar setup that I went for, and why I went for this particular setup as opposed to other options in the marketplace. There are so many different options out there, and in that video I really break down what stood out about this setup in particular. So go check that one out. In this video, what I want to cover is really the performance and comfort upgrade that comes with a setup like this on your motorcycle. So these are the two key areas that I want to cover today when talking about this handlebar setup. I want to talk about performance and I want to talk about comfort. Let's get the latter out of the way first, comfort. That's really the first and foremost what we're trying to tackle when it comes to a handlebar setup on a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Now, most stock bars come with quite a low height and they come with quite a little bit of sweep. And what that does is cause often lower back pain due to, reaching down to the bars. And it also causes wrist pain because you're flexing your wrist outwards, and that's what's causing that wrist pain. The motocross bar and riser setup tackles both of those issues, which is why it's become really well known as a comfort upgrade as well as performance one. Obviously, we have the height with your choice of riser, and that allows the bars to be up at a level that's comfortable for you. Now, for me personally, I like to have them at about shoulder level, maybe just below, as you can see here. So this is a 10-inch rise, and we've got about a 1.5-inch rise on the handlebar. So that's really what's comfortable for me. Now, if I wanted more performance, I would probably go maybe 2 inches lower, just so it's a bit more chest height. But primarily, I wanted comfort for long distance riding. So the risers really help you fine-tune exactly the height that you want. The MX bars, depending on what brand you go for, also come with different amounts of bend as well. So again, you can really adjust exactly what height that you want to get the most comfort out of your handlebar setup. The next thing I spoke about was the sweep of the bar. Now, a lot of stock bars and kind of classically styled bars have quite a bit of sweep, and like I said, causes your wrist to turn out. And that turnout causes a lot of strain on that wrist, particularly over long periods of time, because your joints are no longer in alignment. What the MX bar does is straighten out your wrists. In fact, it keeps everything on your upper body nice and straight and facing forward and in alignment. And that's really what gives you so much more comfort. Your wrists are facing forward like you're throwing a punch, and it really does reduce all the fatigue and strain that might be building up on your wrists. So again, nice straight across bars, forcing your wrist to be nice and aligned, really helps for your comfort. Okay, so what about performance? One of the key reasons many people decide to put an MX bar and riser setup on their Harley Davidson is for the performance, for the increased handling ability that this setup provides. We even see this setup going on to the big baggers like the Road Glides and even some of the Batwing fairing bikes too. Now, the reason that this type of bar setup performs so well is because of that alignment that I spoke about before. Everything in your upper body is now straight and facing forward. You have a lot of accuracy with your inputs on the handlebar. When your hands are too far out of your shoulder width or too close in, for example, you've got too much of that turnout, your inputs aren't as direct onto the handlebar itself. And that causes a kind of mushiness in the response of the handlebar inputs. Having everything nice and straight and aligned really allows that response to be nice and snappy. So your inputs are very, very direct and very instant. The result is a bike that feels more nimble and more agile. Everything feels very accurate. It feels like you point the bike where you want it to go and the reaction is instantaneous. And that's a really confidence-inspiring feeling, and it allows you to push the bike more when you start tackling more technical terrain. All right, so let's talk about these risers. So, as you can see, the cockpit looks really nice. We've got a 17-inch windshield here from Memphis Shades, and the mirrors are sitting just below the height of that windshield, and the top of the risers are about halfway, I would say, maybe just above halfway of that windshield height, just to kind of give you a bit of perspective of how tall these risers are and how they actually feel whilst you're actually in the riding position, whilst you're in the cockpit of the motorcycle. The thing that you don't realize when you're buying these bars is how comfortable this setup is. Now, usually we think of, you know, ape hangers as the comfy option, and most people, when they see the MX bar and riser setup, they think of performance. And yeah, we're going to get to performance in a moment and how these bars help handling, but the actual comfort of these bars is really, really good. So just to put it in perspective, looking at my posture right now, looking at where my hands are, the stock bars were down about here, you know, and so that meant I kind of had to like lean forward and down to those stock bars in order to be in the riding position, and my lower back really started to suffer. I like to try and sit nice and upright, and that's exactly what this new bar setup does. All right, so we're going to turn around and let's talk about performance. Just turn around here. So even just doing U-turns, I find these bars to be way more manageable to get the bike around. You have more height and a slightly wider bar, and that's just giving you a lot of leverage on the handlebars and really allowing you to kind of throw that bike into corners whilst maintaining balance. So for slow speed maneuvers, I was a bit worried about that height. I thought it would throw me off, but once you get used to it, it actually seems to be working out for the best. I'm really able to, you know, have a low speed maneuverability and even high speed turns with far more greater control. Because your hand is straight, it's like throwing a punch. It's very direct, it's very accurate. And that results in a more responsive feel due to a more responsive input, I guess, on the handlebars themselves. Everything is working off right angles. I have a straight bar and straight arms heading into them. Everything just feels more responsive, and it just feels more accurate with those inputs on the handlebar. So if I put this bike through the roundabout, everything just seems really, really nice. No flex, no delay in inputs. When it comes to the design and the aesthetics of the handlebar setup, that's obviously personal preference, and I totally get the want to keep things looking more nostalgic and more classical on the motorcycle. The motocross bar and riser setup really gives it a more modern and aggressive styling, in my opinion. For me personally, I really enjoy this style. I was brought up on a motocross bike, so the fact that I can have motocross bars on my Harley Davidson, well, that's a dream come true for me. I think it looks absolutely dope. Alrighty, so that's the video. MX bars and risers on a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're running something similar, I'd love to know what it is, and maybe other people can find out the next setup for their motorcycle too. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Be sure to share it with your friends or anybody who might be interested in throwing on some new handlebars on their Harley Davidson. And make sure you're riding safe, drinking damn fine coffee as always, and I'll catch you on the next video. All right, Peace.